We've all been there. You're standing in a parts store parking lot, the receipt is still warm in your hand, and you're staring at a number north of $200. You tell yourself, well, this is just what batteries cost now. You absorb the hit. You move on. You don't question it because the guy behind the counter just ran a little handheld tester, pushed a button, and 15 seconds later, a thermal printer spit out a tiny slip of paper with one word in red ink, replace. Listen to me closely. That receipt is not a diagnosis. It is a cash register disguised as a medical chart, and you have been reading it wrong your entire driving life. Picture the last time your battery died. You're late for something important. You twist the key or push the button and you get that gut-dropping silence. Maybe a single click, maybe nothing at all. Your stomach tightens because your morning is officially ruined. Within 48 hours, you're swiping your card for $220 at AutoZone or $260 at the dealership with their ridiculous installation fee bolted on top. You get a replacement unit with a 2-year warranty that is engineered with surgical precision to expire right around the time the exact same failure begins eating your new battery alive from the inside. You never ask why the old one died. You just pay. Because every voice in the room, the mechanic, the parts guy, the blinking screen on the diagnostic tool, they're all trained to say the exact same thing. Time for a new one. Now, let's rewind. A retired postal carrier in Michigan learned this the hard way, and then he unlearned it for exactly $1.40. His 2014 Honda Accord sat through an entire brutal winter in an unheated garage. By spring, the battery wasn't just weak, it was forensically dead. No dome light, no dashboard glow, not even a click. His neighbor handed him a formula you can mix on your kitchen counter with ingredients that cost less than a pack of gum. He dissolved this simple mixture, poured it into the battery cells, hooked up a cheap $30 trickle charger from Walmart, and went to bed. 48 hours later, he turned the key. The engine caught on the very first crank. 14 months later, that same battery is still under his hood. A single mom in Georgia running a daycare van got quoted $520 by a fleet mechanic to swap both batteries in her Chevy Express. She mixed the same solution on a Saturday morning while her kids watched cartoons. By Monday, the van fired up like it just rolled off the showroom floor. Total cost? $140. That $520 she didn't spend went straight to school supplies. An RV owner baking in the Arizona desert watched his house batteries fade until the fridge couldn't even stay cold overnight. He treated the cells with the same kitchen table formula. The capacity climbed back to 85% of the original factory spec. He's been running off-grid on those exact same batteries for 2 full seasons without handing a single dollar to a parts counter. None of these people owned a fancy scan tool. They didn't have mechanic certifications. They just popped the caps off their batteries, dropped a solution in, plugged in a basic charger, and walked away. The chemistry did the heavy lifting while they slept. Before they knew this secret, every single one of them would have done exactly what you do. Dragged the heavy, dead battery to a store and paid full price for a replacement that the industry already knows you'll be replacing again in 3 years. This isn't some crazy garage lab discovery from last Tuesday. The electrochemistry behind this was documented in published research back in 1935. Military engineers tested it. Peer-reviewed technical journals printed it. The science is real, it is completely repeatable, and it was quietly shoved out of public sight by an industry that moves 150 million replacement batteries off American shelves every single year. That is not a supply chain, folks. That is a conveyor belt, and your wallet is the cargo. That free battery health check at your dealer? It exists for one reason, to generate a red letter printout that funnels you into a massive retail markup. The $90 smart charger with a desulfation mode. Independent labs show it recovers maybe 5% to 12% capacity on a good day, and 0 on a bad one. It exists to make you feel like you tried before you give up and buy a new battery. Everything you thought you knew about why batteries die is built on a massive lie of omission. They never tell you what actually kills the battery. Because the moment you understand the specific chemical process responsible for 80% of battery failures, you stop being a customer. You start being a threat. That process has a name. It's been hiding inside your battery since the day a French physicist invented the lead-acid architecture 166 years ago. The flaw was baked into the very first prototype, and not a single manufacturer has ever truly fixed it. Why? Because fixing it would collapse the most profitable replacement cycle in the entire automotive aftermarket. The industry prays you never sit still long enough to learn this word, sulfation. Independent studies and electrochemistry literature confirm it. Sulfation is the primary killer in 80% of all lead-acid battery deaths. It's not corroded plates. It's not depleted acid. It is a reversible chemical process where lead sulfate crystals grow across the internal plates like calcium clogging an old water pipe. It chokes off the reaction area, strangling your cranking amps one cold morning at a time until the day you twist the key and hear a single click. Your battery wasn't worn out. It was buried alive under its own chemical waste. And the people who built it understood that timeline down to the quarter. Here is where the math turns violent. The industry designed a 3 to 5 year sulfation clock into every unit they sell, and then they built an entire retail ecosystem around the moment that clock runs out. Look at the numbers. AutoZone posted $17.4 billion in revenue for fiscal 2023. O'Reilly pulled in $15.8 billion, Advance Auto Parts, $11.2 billion. Stack the manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and installers together, and the battery replacement machine represents over $28 billion in annual revenue in the US alone. Every single one of those dollars rests on one massive assumption, that a sulfated battery is a dead battery. That assumption is worth $28 billion a year, and it is chemically provably false. If even 60% of those 150 million annual replacements could be restored to functional capacity for under $2, the industry doesn't just take a haircut. It loses $18 billion a year. Poof, gone. Because drivers stop walking through those automatic sliding doors every 3 years holding a battery that could have been saved for less than the cost of a candy bar. Faced with that reality, they did exactly what you'd expect. They funded research to reclassify sulfation as irreversible plate degradation. They lobbied for sealed, maintenance-free battery designs. They marketed this to you as a convenience upgrade. No more dirty hands, no more checking fluids. But all it really did was remove your physical access to the cells so you could never treat the sulfation yourself. They didn't solve the problem. They literally welded the hood shut and slapped a warranty sticker over the seam. So when someone tells you your battery is dead, understand what that word actually means to a $28 billion revenue model. It means profitable. It means the sulfation timeline they engineered performed exactly as designed. Here's how you break the cycle. The solution isn't electrical, it's chemical. When a battery sits partially discharged, those lead sulfate crystals harden. They lock into a stable structure that your alternator, or your expensive smart charger, can't shake loose. You can't break a molecular bond with electricity alone, but you can dissolve it. You introduce a specific compound into the sulfuric acid. It releases competing ions that attack the crystal lattice from the inside, weakening the bonds. The crystals dissolve back into free sulfate and lead ions. The plates are exposed again. The active surface area returns. Your cranking amps return. The science on this was settled before you were born. So why isn't this mainstream? Because a recovered battery is a battery that wasn't sold. Even the commercial battery additives out there that use this chemistry are priced at $15 to $30 a bottle to keep you inside the consumption loop. But the active ingredient, it's so absurdly cheap and ordinary that the entire pricing architecture of this industry collapses the second you hear it. Here is the exact protocol. I need you to treat this like a prescription, not a suggestion. It is so stupidly simple, you're going to want to dismiss it. Fight that reflex. Walk into any Walmart, CVS, or dollar store. Buy 1 bag of Epsom salt, plain magnesium sulfate. Flip the bag over and check the label. It must say 100% magnesium sulfate or USP grade. If it mentions lavender, eucalyptus, or any relaxing fragrance, put it back. Scented bath salts will poison your battery. The plain bag costs about $2 and contains enough material for 15 to 20 treatments. You're looking at roughly 7 cents a battery. Next, grab 1 gallon of distilled water. Not tap water, not filtered fridge water. Distilled. Any minerals in standard water will accelerate corrosion. A gallon is under $1. Your grand total is roughly $3. Go home. Dissolve 1 level tablespoon, about 15 grams, of that plain Epsom salt into 1 cup of warm distilled water. Not boiling, just warm. Stir it with a plastic spoon until the liquid is perfectly clear and there are no crystals at the bottom. That single cup treats 1 standard 12-volt battery across all 6 cells. Pop your hood. If your battery has removable caps, twist them off. If it has a flat sealed strip labeled maintenance-free, take a flathead screwdriver and carefully pry it up. It comes right off on the vast majority of these units. Maintenance-free just means they prefer you don't maintain it. Look down into the 6 cells. The liquid should cover the metal plates by about ½ inch. If any cell is low, top it off with plain distilled water first. Never add the salt solution to exposed plates. Grab a turkey baster or a plastic syringe. Draw up your warm, clear solution and squirt about 1/6 of it, roughly 40 milliliters, into each of the 6 cells. Slow and steady. You aren't flooding it, you're just giving each cell a controlled dose of magnesium sulfate to dissolve those crystals. The fluid level should sit right at the fill line inside the opening. That's it. Put the caps back on. Hook up your basic battery charger, even a cheap 2-amp trickle charger works perfectly, and walk away for 48 hours. A quick safety check. You are working near sulfuric acid. Wear safety glasses. Wear nitrile gloves. Do this outside or in a ventilated garage. Don't lean your face directly over the open battery while it's charging, because it vents a tiny bit of flammable hydrogen gas. Keep it simple, keep it safe. Also, if your battery has a physically swollen case, or 1 cell is totally shorted out, it's genuinely dead. replace it. But statistically, 80% of the time, it's just sulfation. After 48 hours, pull the cables off and let the battery sit undisturbed for 2 hours. Touch a $5 multimeter to the terminals. A healthy battery reads 12.6 volts. The one you just rescued from a parts counter death sentence was probably sitting at 11.85 2 days ago. Now it's staring back at you with 12.4 to 12.6 volts. You just recovered 50% to 60% of the capacity the store employee told you was gone forever. If the battery is really old and heavily sulfated, drive the car normally for a week and then repeat the exact same treatment. 1 more tablespoon, 1 more cup of warm distilled water, another 48-hour charge. The second cycle dissolves the deeper layers of crystal the first cycle exposed. After 2 treatments, you're looking at 70% to 85% total recovery. Take that exact same battery back to the parts store, have them test it with their little machine, watch their face when the thermal printer spits out a slip that says, "Good." Same machine, same battery, different verdict. The only thing that changed was a tablespoon of a compound that costs less than $1 and a little bit of patience. Your grandfather used to pop the caps off his battery, check the fluids, and keep it running for years past its expiration date. The industry took that access away and replaced it with a 15-second electronic test designed to sell you a $200 plastic box. They didn't improve the battery chemistry, they improved the sales funnel. You have the exit door now, a tablespoon of Epsom salt, a cup of distilled water, a basic charger. The next time you turn the key and hear that slow, groaning crank, don't drive to the parts store. Walk into your kitchen.